I am honored to participate in this year's Business for Home seminar. It's been so long since I've actually been on the stage speaking for someone other than my own organization, but I can tell you this, Ted has actually been a great ambassador for the entire industry of network marketing, and I'm so honored to be here and serve all of you who are in attendance today and all of you who are going to be watching this maybe years down the road. You know, today my topic is one that I'm very familiar with and one that I was very uncomfortable with in my early beginnings in network marketing. You know, I just celebrated 30 years this past September in network marketing, and so I believe I have enough experience to talk to you today about building with professionals. Well, why do I feel I have the experience? I remember 30 years ago, my very first company, 18 years of age, and I'm in a company that sold a lot of nutritional supplements and cleaning products and home products and things of that nature. Nothing that an 18-year-old wanted, and all I was surrounded by were professionals. And I remember approaching professional after professional after professional after professional and getting turned down and getting turned down and defeat and defeat and defeat. And that's what led to my story that many of you are so familiar with of 7 years in network marketing and never making more than $500 in any single month. And I only made that 3 separate months within 7 years. But don't worry about that. Don't feel sorry for me. That's the reason that you want to pay attention to this training, because I learned so much from those 7 years. I was surrounded by so many professionals in the industry, and here I was, a fish out of water, not knowing what to do. Why? I talked to my college buddies and nobody wanted, so I called back home and I'd sell a few products here and there, but it was so difficult for me to paint the vision about this opportunity to people of my age bracket. And then later on, I started to figure a few things out. I started to pay attention to some trends, and I started to pay attention to really how to get the attention of those who were professionals. Well, first of all, you may be saying, well, why do I want professionals anyway? I always hear about this guy who had no education or a 3rd grade education or dropped out of high school or college push out who's a multi-gazillionaire, and that's who I'm going after. Well, you do hear about those. And there's a lot of great success stories within network marketing that you can lean on. But here's what I really begin to understand. Number one, you want to build a diverse portfolio of distributors and customers within your network. Yeah, it's really cool to go get the high school dropout or the college dropout or the guy who maybe don't have a job or somebody who's really struggling because you've heard that story 1,000 times and it's what's motivated you. But I learned a long time ago, a rich man's no and a poor man's no brings about the same result. But a rich man's yes has much longer reach. And that's not to say that a professional is going to be a better suited person for your opportunity, but you've got to have a diverse portfolio. You know, one of the things that I've seen in network marketing that has caused so many people not to have the long-term success that they want is that they fail to get out of their comfort zone. What do you mean? Holton, I am African American, and I watch them build with all African Americans in their organization. Or I am this particular religion, and they build solely with that particular religion. Or I'm from this region, and I only speak this language here, and they build solely with people of that particular language. Why? Because they are very comfortable. Network marketing has taught me to get completely out of my comfort zone and learn how to attract anyone who qualifies for the opportunity. Sometimes that's going to be direct connections, but the majority of the time it's going to be indirect. Maybe you don't know the professionals. Maybe you don't know people in other regions or who speak other languages or who are of different religious beliefs or who have different cultural preferences and backgrounds and things of that nature. But if you want to build a very successful, large organization, you better be prepared to be the leader so that you can service those people within your organization. I'll give you some examples of what I've been talking about. I remember once a long time ago that I was building my organization and I had learned diversification. And I remember I had an organization that lived in one particular part of the country. And that particular part of the country had a massive disaster. And I remember having a friend of mine who had only built in that particular region. And what happened when that disaster took place? His business was completely wiped out. Why? Because he never diversified. He was solely comfortable working in that particular area. He had never left that area. He built that particular region of the country, and when it had a natural disaster, his income went way from here all the way down. I remember also having an organization that had a particular religious affiliation. And I never forget, there was some holiday that came around, and it took a long period of time that they were participating in this holiday, and that sector of my business completely shut down for business. And here we were running for goals and looking to achieve certain things, and I thought that I was going to be able to count on 100% of the plugged-in organization, but that part of my organization had a different priority. I completely respected it, and I was so grateful that I had other affiliations of religion in my organization. And so you want to make sure that you diversify. You want to have educated. You want to have some who are not educated. Build a business so that anyone who qualifies for the opportunity feels comfortable in your business. And so now that we're specifically talking about professionals, professionals can bring a completely different dynamic to your organization. They can bring a little bit more what I call validation to your organization. You got to understand this entire industry, or some we call it profession, called network marketing, and what it's really all about. One of the things I want you to do is, as you listen to each speaker, I find that most people come and they're prepared, and what they're looking for the answer to get from A to Z. And that was me. I never forget, I go to seminars and I'm looking and I'm listening to the speaker, and all I want to know is tell me what to do. And people come up to me still to this day and they say, if there was one thing, HB, that you think about, what would it be? They're always looking for how to get from A to Z. If you're a beginner listening right now, if you've been around a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and you still haven't gotten to where you want to go, and that's probably 95% to 98% of everybody who's listening here, then don't try to get from A to Z. Try to get from A to B successfully. And try to have a little bit more courage, a little bit more confidence when you get to step B. Be a little bit better than you were at A. Set a goal for when you're going to get to step C, because most people look at network marketing, which the industry of network marketing is already designed to be the shortcut, but they look at the industry and want to shortcut the shortcut. And this is why I say, don't try to learn the tricks of the trade. Master the trade. Master the trade. So the first thing is, number one, diversify. Diversify your portfolio. Know exactly what you got. Protect your organization and your long-term income against, natural disasters, against certain things that may take place, specifically if you got an organization that may be international. Don't sit on one particular country for all of your income. Do not do that, all right? Make sure that you diversify. Number two, you got to be able to know your audience. And I'll tie 2 and 3 kind of together, and maybe you call it, 2 and 2.1. But know your audience, and you got to learn how to speak the language. You got to learn a new language. You say, well, what do you mean? Do I need to go out, and get one of these language courses. No, we're talking right now about how to build with professionals. How to build with professionals. You got to learn the language of professionals. And that was one of the stepping stones and one of the stumbling blocks that I didn't know. You got to remember, I came from a background where nobody in my family were professionals. Everybody were blue-collar workers. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I was also the first person in my family to drop out of college, right? So I didn't have the language of professionals. I didn't understand the behaviors. I didn't understand the culture so much. And so I was being me, the blue-collar kid or the no-collar kid, trying to attract this professional world, and I kept running into those roadblocks. Know your audience. And so let me give you a couple of tips of what do I mean by know your audience. This is going to work for you whether you're personally recruiting and enrolling or whether or not you're just working down in depth. My magic in building with professionals came from working down in depth. It wasn't so much of the people that I personally enrolled. It was being able to work down in depth with professionals and being able to understand who they were, learn and study the different cultures that I was dealing with, and being able to make the environment so palatable, so welcoming, so soft and inviting that I didn't want to have any obstacles between the time they showed up and the time that they were receiving information. What do I mean by obstacles? In professionals, if you're looking to build with professionals, I've gone to opportunity meetings, even whether it's on Zoom or whether it's live. Let's talk about live, which is how I have built a business over the years. And many of you build differently, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. Remember, it's a people business. However you connect with the people is up to you. At the end of the day, you're going to have to learn the same language if you want to attract those people. But I would go into meetings and opportunity meetings, and the very beginning of what I would hear is this loud music that will be playing, and everybody jumping up, dancing, whatever it may have been. And it was just this loud, sometimes rock, sometimes hip hop music. And it seemed as if the distributors didn't understand who the meeting was for. They thought that the meeting was for them. If it's an opportunity meeting, you have to remember, professionals may not be used to that type of environment when it comes to business. Now, when they go to a ball game or when they go somewhere else and for recreation, they're all in. They can be some of the most boisterous, some of the most enthusiastic, energetic people, but now you're talking business. They have now taken off their dad hat or taken off their recreational hat, and they've now put on their business hat. And what I've got to do is I'm not going to make them adjust to me right now. I am going to make the adjustment for them. Why? This meeting is for them. It's not for HB. It's for them. And so what I want to do is make sure that the environment is suitable for what the expectations are. So I don't like to have loud music at opportunity meetings. Now at a training, at a business seminar, man, we are going to rock the house because we're going to have fun. But I want them to come and not worry about whether the music or the lyrics were the correct lyrics, because the thing that they're thinking about is, do I want to introduce my network to this environment? Sometimes what I've done is I've taken professionals and I've actually segregated certain opportunity meetings. I call them executive lunches or executive launches. Lunch is when I would take people and they had to be in a category of over $100,000 a year. Now, we wouldn't interview them and ask, but you know, and that's the only way you would get an invitation to that particular launch or that particular lunch. Well, why would I do that? Because I don't like sometimes bringing professionals and rookies in the same environment to see the opportunity. Why is that? Because both of them are going to look at each other and they're going to feel, I don't belong here. I bring a person in and they're making $250,000 a year, and money's not their issue, time is their issue. But sitting right next to them, I have a person who is just got out of the employment line. And guess what? That person can be more successful than the professional, by the way. But that person who's sitting there, who just got out of the unemployment line, saying, man, I'm looking for my first break. I've always worked minimum wage. They're going to look at the professional and they're going to feel intimidated. The professional's going to look at them and feel, this is probably not my cup of tea. So what I have done where I have had success is I do executive launches. Executive launches. Why? I can speak the language. When I have professionals, here's what I have learned. Give you a couple of tips. The higher the level of business acumen, the less entertainment is needed, which means I don't need to use all of my bag of jokes. I don't need to be there to entertain them for a very long time throughout the presentation. I give more facts, I give more information, and what I do a lot is I stick to the benefit of the program. I stick to the benefit of the program. Now, when I have a lesser educated crowd, a crowd that has lower income, what I do is I entertain a little bit more. Why? I understand where that value comes. So I learn how to segregate from a standpoint of what they're used to, the environment that they're used to. I also look at my appearance. I never go overdressed. I never go underdressed. I always want to be just a little sharper than my audience or my target audience, okay? So you got to know who your people are. You got to speak the language. If you're talking to professionals, you got to get out of all of the network marketing hype. If you use the term absolutely 2 times in a sentence, you're using it 2 times too much. It's one of the most commonly used words that actually is projecting hype. It's projecting a lack of true confidence about what it is that you have, because that's the only word that you have. And so you've got to get out of that type of vernacular and you got to speak the language that they understand. I'll give you an example of how I used an approach that I used when I started building my coffee empire that I started. In the very beginning, I never looked for networkers, ever. I never have. I always built with average, ordinary people, professionals, non-professionals is what I did. My pitch was very, very simple. When I would call a person who was a professional, here's my approach. If I called up Ted, I say, hey, Ted, how you doing? This is HB. Listen, I need a quick second if you don't mind. You got a quick second? Yeah. Listen, I want to run a concept by you. Actually, what's recently happened, we haven't talked in a while, but I partnered up, a couple of partners of mine. We've actually put together a system that's designed to capture 1% of the coffee industry over the next 5 years in a particular region. What we've done is we've actually partnered with the manufacturer who's going to actually produce the product for us. We estimate that those numbers look like about $110 million per month. What we've done is we've put a 50-50 split together between our partners and the manufacturer, which represents a little over over 50-something million dollars a month of profits that all of my partners are going to split on a monthly basis. Based off of what I've said, Ted, would you want more information on the product, the opportunity, or both? And 100% of the time, they all said both. Why? I'm speaking their language. It didn't sound like network marketing. I wasn't trying to hype them into a conference call. I wasn't trying to hype them into a meeting or anything of that nature. I was speaking their language. Learn to speak their language. This is where you're also going to have to get out of your comfort zone and learn a new style. Learn something additional to what it is that you already know. One of the next things I want to give you, I guess this will be number 4 here. Okay, I tied speak the language, know your audience. I tied that into one, but I'll give you number 4. You want to make sure that you tie the desired result for your prospect to the successful marketing of a valuable product or service. What do I mean by that? I've seen a lot of people who are rookies in this industry approaching professionals, and the only terms that they know are recruit, 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 recruit. And when they're explaining their opportunity, they're talking about when you get 10,000 people, or when you get 500 people or 300 people, here's what your income is. The signal that you're sending to a professional is that this is a recruiting pyramid. Maybe it's not, but it's the signal that you're sending to them. You've got to be able to understand your USP. What is your company or your system's USP, unique selling proposition? What value do you have with the product? What is something that a non-participant in the business can value that that particular professional is going to get hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of those particular non-participants, and how the money is going to translate into freedom and lifestyle for them? If the only way you can translate that is through recruiting and talking about the number of people that you have in your organization, you're going to have a pretty rough time sustaining that level of person. Why? They've got credibility, they've got a name on the line, they've got a family that they've got to think about, and they don't want to be associated with something that they consider to be a pyramid, or something that they consider to be not above board or business as they know it. So start thinking about that. Start thinking about that. One of the next things I want to tell you is this here. One of the last things, and then I'll give you a little bonus one. Number 5, I'll tell you, is this. Be an opener, not a closer. It amazes me the number of people who want to know, hey, listen, can I get a 3-way? I need to close this guy. You know, hey, listen, HB, can you get on this guy as a doctor, and I just want to close him because, you know, he's got a huge network. Let me share something with you. Nobody closes HB. Nobody. I have yet to close my first networker. I have yet to close my first professional. Why? Because nobody likes being sold. Everybody wants and they love to buy. When they buy, it means that they join on their own desires, not on your pressure. Stop being in a hurry to get them in. You get them to see the opportunity, and you're wanting them to make a life-altering decision within your first 4 to 6 hours or 24 hours. It doesn't work like that for professionals. Now, maybe college students, maybe younger, single, millennials, you know, they don't have a lot of responsibility, many of them, in terms of families, and they can shift really quickly. But many professionals who maybe they're married and maybe they've got children, they've got to look at, okay, how do I actually incorporate this into my time frame so that it does work for me? Let me kind of look it over. And so understand that a little bit of time between the time they see the business and the time they make a decision, it is completely okay when it comes to professionals, but that goes back to the big man's yes versus the little guy's yes. It can open up many doors. Their reach sometimes become much longer, much longer. So don't get into the process of closing. What do I mean by open? Open up the possibilities for solutions that you can bring to that person. What do I mean by that? I never try to close. I always find out what's missing in their lives. You're a professional. Maybe they're making money. I ask questions. I am a professional interviewer. That's what I do. I don't have all of these sayings. I don't learn all of this stuff that most people do. Is they learn everything at seminars, and they actually teach what they learn, but they don't do it. They teach what they hear at seminars, but that's not how they actually build. I want you to be different. I want you to learn, and I want you to go out there and perform. 30 years, I know a little bit of what I'm talking about here. Have the patience. Ask questions. You know, hey, listen, it seems like you're making all the money that you want. What's missing in your life? If there's something that you can add to your life right now, what is it? Seems like a lot is going right for you. Then shut your mouth. Listen. And then what you do is when they give you that answer, take it a little further. Maybe they'll say, well, listen, you know, I'm really time strapped. Well, you know, I can identify with that. If you had more time, what are some of the things that you'd like to do with it? And they say, hey, listen, I'd love to be able to coach my son's or my daughter's sporting league. Well, what sport does your daughter play in, and how much time is involved in coaching? Now they see that you're taking a personal interest in them. I'm opening them up because they want to know that I'm really sincere about helping them with their goals versus closing them. Don't be a closer, be an opener. And last one I'll give you as a bonus is this one here. Learn the platinum rule. The golden rule is what your mother taught you. My mom taught me the golden rule, and that is, she should say, Holton, listen, treat people the way you want to be treated. And you know what? That took me so far. And my mom was right, but I wanted to go a little further than what she taught me. And so I had to understand the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. And when you learn the platinum rule, and you learn how to apply that to people, and don't use it as a trick or a technique or a skill, let it become a part of you. And utilize it to solve the challenges and problems that people are having. And when you do that, we will be listening to you and watching you on the stage because you have mastered the game of network marketing that's really called mastering the game of people. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your attention and the time. Thanks again, Ted. I really appreciate being able to spread the little bit of love and the experience that I've had over 30 years, and can't wait to see you guys